Hello everyone, and welcome to our Top 5 Records video, another one in the series in which I'm taking a closer look at the full body of work of David Bowie. And today we finally arrive in the 90s because I spent a lot of time in the 80s. The last year I did was about the Glass Spider Tour, and two videos on Never Let Me Down, the 2018 version, the original version. Um, if we're talking about tonight, Let's Dance, and it's a more commercial period. And I'm not feeling negative about that, but in the 90s, David Bowie reinvents himself with two albums in 1993, one soundtrack album, which I'm going to do in my next video, and this regular studio album, namely Black Tie, White Noise. And the first thing I noticed while getting this out of the box, I've been listening to this record digitally before, um, listening to it on vinyl, getting it out of the box, is this artwork is so different. This was thought about, I believe, for CD because such a close up. It's not regular. Bowie usually envisions the artwork more tiny. But the thing is, this picture, this confidence here, so large on a vinyl, it's daring and it says a lot about what Bowie is doing. He produced this album together with Nile Rodgers from Chic, with whom he also produced the hit album Let's Dance. And we're not getting back to Let's Dance territory. No, we're actually getting to the bar where these two men initially met. They met in a New York jazz bar because they were both jazz fans, and that is what this record contains. It's not jazz, but it's heavily jazz influenced, and it's very, very good. Putting this on after a couple of weeks of 80s Bowie, again, enjoying 80s Bowie, putting it on, it felt liberating. Seriously, the first couple of sides felt like a liberation because Bowie's sounds, Bowie's voice, it is so much freer. It's as if he is opening up a room in which he can walk around for the first time, and at certain moments he can even fly through that room. Starting with The Wedding, good song. You've Been Around, I Feel Free. Yeah, that song, I Feel Free. That's essentially what we're hearing here. And the first time when I heard this album, and there was also a DVD in the early zeros, they released a DVD, Black Tie, White Noise. I found it mostly intriguing. There were some songs which I just kept coming back to. Now, having listened a little bit more to jazz, knowing that eventually Blackstar is gonna get out. He's gonna move away from the jazz thing eventually and return. But having that in mind, and then hearing this, it's the jazz influences is light. It's inviting. Also, I love jazz. Um, it doesn't dominate, but it liberates, and I think that's so good about this record. Then side two, opening with Black Tie, White Noise, the title track, which is incredible. Then the song Jump, They Say, which is a very personal song because around that time, I believe even something before that, David Bowie's brother jumped from the, how do I say this politely? He was in a mental hospital. Bowie's family is threatened by mental issues. There are also theories that Bowie himself was afraid of the mental issues. There is like there is something dangerous inside of your own head, and the suicide of his brother obviously made an incredible impression, and it also reflects an alternative path that may have been there for him. And the song "Jump They Say" is one of his most cynical, most the song sounds like an assault, if that is the right word, or a complaint, or a as if his brother had no choice, but because of the hospitalization, it's pushing him. I sense an element of the theory of one flew over the cuckoo's nest in there. That idea that if you are not insane when you go into a insane asylum, um, you will become insane eventually. But that's my own free interpretation, of course. Listen to the song itself. It has an incredibly good music video. It's got fantastic saxophone. The Night Flights, good. Palace Athena, Miracle Good Night, that's also very good. Don't Let Me Down and Down. Side 4, Looking for Lester, I like that song. Then we find something peculiar. I Know It's Gonna Happen Someday, which is a Morrissey cover song. Now, I never realized it was a Morrissey cover song until recently. About a year ago, I was reading the biography of Morrissey. And obviously, Morrissey is not talking about this flattering. There is a David Bowie Morrissey story. Morrissey was originally very much influenced by Bowie's Ziggy Stardust era, and he was a big hero of his. Then in the late 80s, Morrissey started a solo career, and in the early 90s, I believe, during the Sound and Vision tour, but correct me if I'm wrong, Bowie asked Morrissey to do his front show, his front program. After they collaborated on a tribute to Mark Bolan, they did a beautiful rendition of Cosmic Dancer. I believe it's the song Cosmic Dancer. It's a I've been dancing when I was 12. So, I love that song. And the idea of that song was Morrissey starts singing. Honestly, I'm a Bowie fan. I also enjoy Morrissey's solo work, but Morrissey's so into it. He's so fully convinced of what he's doing. And then halfway the song, Bowie enters the stage and sings, I've been dancing when I was 12. He's not putting in the effort. He's Bowie doing Bowie, which nails it every now and then. But Morrissey was really into that, and they released it as a single for Record Store Day about a year ago. There's a beautiful video of that also online. And what Bowie suggested during the tour is, you know what, Morrissey, if you do the first, you do the front, you're the opening act. What if you slowly fade away to the back and I get in just as we did on the Mark Bolan song? And Bowie's side of the story is that he didn't hear back from him, and the next night he did not have an opening act. Morrissey said it was the biggest insult of his life because what should the audience think if suddenly he would fade away? Then they could not say goodbye to him. And I'm doing an imitation because I like doing imitation because I think he has a fair point. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to insult Morrissey. And this got into Morrissey's ego or just the inside of how a show works. Both of them are intertwined, of course. So, in his biography, Morrissey says that Bowie has not been interesting or reinventing himself after Ziggy. I completely disagree. But then again, Morrissey's full conviction of his own emotions is also what makes him so interesting. Then he starts to talk about, I Know It's Gonna Happen Someday, because Bowie asked if he could record it, which was after that. And Morrissey allowed him to do it. And he is really negative about that song. And honestly, I mean, flawless record, there is one flaw. I think Morrissey, in that regard, with regard to I Know It's Gonna Happen Someday, he's right. Bowie is not doing a great job as a vocalist on that song. As a vocalist, I just really enjoy that story of Morrissey and Bowie. I think it shows very interesting insights into two of the best solo artists of the last decades. You know, they are interesting, and Bowie kept a close eye on the next generation. He always did that. I also really enjoy that. Now, ending off with the wedding song. Great song. This album is, it's really good. It's amazing. Bowie reinvents himself and makes something. Strategy, it wasn't a hit. This should have been a hit. The 90s would have been a better decade if they would immediately have embraced it and put it somewhere in the top 10. Well, that's my opinion of Black Tie White Noise. I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.